If you've ever felt the ground shift beneath your feet, you'll understand what I mean when I say my world ended on a Tuesday afternoon. It was the kind of day that should have been ordinary, sunlight streaming through the kitchen window, my son's laughter echoing down the hallway, the smell of fresh bread in the oven. But all it took was a single envelope, handed to me by my mother-in-law with a look that could freeze fire, to turn my life upside down. She didn't knock. She never did. She just let herself in, as if the house was still hers, as if I was just a guest in her son's life. I heard her heels clicking on the tile before I saw her, and my stomach twisted the way it always did when she was near. She never liked me, not from the first day I met her, when she looked me up and down and said, "I hope you're not just after his money." I thought I could win her over. That time and kindness would soften her edges. I was wrong. She found me in the kitchen, wiping flour from my hands. My son, Jamie, was sitting at the table, coloring. She didn't even look at him. She just held out the envelope, her lips pressed into a thin line. "What's this?" I asked, already dreading the answer. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Open it." I glanced at Jamie, then back at her. "Is this really necessary?" Her voice was cold. "If you have nothing to hide, you won't mind?" I opened the envelope with shaking hands. Inside was a stack of papers, official-looking, with a lab's letterhead at the top. My eyes darted over the words, not really understanding at first. Then I saw it. Paternity test results. My heart stopped. I flipped to the last page, searching for the answer I didn't know I needed. Probability of paternity, 0%. I stared at the number, my mind refusing to process it. 0. Impossible. Jamie was my husband's son. There was no doubt in my mind, no question, no secret. But the paper said otherwise. I looked up at my mother-in-law, my voice barely a whisper. "What is this?" She crossed her arms, satisfaction flickering in her eyes. "Proof. I always knew you were a liar. A cheater. I warned my son, but he wouldn't listen. Now he has no choice." I felt the room spin. Jamie looked up from his coloring, sensing the tension. "Mommy!" I forced a smile, my hands trembling. "It's okay, sweetheart. Go play in your room for a bit, okay?" He nodded and scampered off, oblivious to the storm brewing in the kitchen. I turned back to her, anger rising in my chest. "You had no right—" She cut me off. "I had every right. My son deserves the truth. He deserves better than you." Before I could respond, I heard the front door open. My husband, Mark, stepped inside, his face tired from work. He stopped when he saw us, his eyes flicking from me to his mother, then to the envelope in my hand. "What's going on?" he asked, his voice wary. His mother moved faster than I thought possible, snatching the papers from my hand and thrusting them at him. "Read it," she demanded. "See for yourself what she's done." Mark took the papers, confusion clouding his face. He read in silence, his eyes moving back and forth across the page. I watched the color drain from his cheeks, watched his hands start to shake. "Is this true?" he whispered, his voice breaking. I shook my head, tears stinging my eyes. "No, Mark, I swear." But he was already backing away, the papers clutched in his fist. "I need to think," he said, his voice hollow. He turned and walked out the door, leaving me standing in the kitchen with his mother's triumphant smile burning into my skin. The next hours passed in a blur. I tried calling Mark, but he didn't answer. I tried texting, but my messages went unread. I sat on the floor in Jamie's room, holding him close, trying to keep my voice steady as I read him his favorite story. But inside, I was falling apart. That night, Mark didn't come home. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment of our marriage, every memory, every laugh, every fight. I thought about the day Jamie was born, the way Mark had cried when he held him for the first time. I thought about the nights we'd spent dreaming about our future, about the promises we'd made. None of it made sense. None of it fit with the cold, clinical words on that piece of paper. The next morning, I found Mark in the guest room, his suitcase half packed. He looked up when I walked in, his eyes red-rimmed and tired. "I don't know what to believe," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "My mom, she says the test is real. She says you lied to me." I knelt beside him, reaching for his hand. "Mark, please. You know me. You know I would never—" He pulled away, pain etched into every line of his face. "I want to believe you. But the test—" I shook my head, desperate. "Let's do another one. Together. Right now. Please." He hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Okay, but if you're lying—" "I'm not," I said, my voice fierce. "I swear to you, Mark, Jamie is your son." He nodded again, but I could see the doubt in his eyes. My mother-in-law had done what she always wanted. She'd planted a seed of suspicion, and now it was growing, choking out everything we'd built together. As Mark left for work, suitcase still by the door, I made a decision. I wasn't going to let her destroy my family. I was going to find out the truth, no matter what it took. The house felt emptier than ever after Mark left. Jamie played quietly in his room, unaware of the storm that had swept through our lives. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the envelope my mother-in-law had left behind, my mind racing. I kept replaying her words, her cold satisfaction, the way she'd looked at me as if I were something she'd scraped off her shoe. I knew she'd never liked me, but this was war. I tried to focus, to think logically. If the test was real, there would be a record at the lab. If it was fake, there would be clues. I picked up my phone and called the number on the letterhead, my hands shaking so badly I nearly dropped it. After a few rings, a woman answered, her voice brisk and professional. "Good morning, Genetica Labs. How can I help you?" I swallowed hard. "Hi, I'm calling about a paternity test. I have a report here, but I just wanted to confirm." She interrupted. "I'm sorry, but we can't give out information over the phone. Only the person who requested the test can access the results." I thanked her and hung up, frustration burning in my chest. I needed another way. I thought about my mother-in-law, about the way she always covered her tracks, always made sure she was one step ahead. But everyone makes mistakes. I just had to find hers. That afternoon, I drove to her house. Jamie was at a friend's for a play date, and I needed answers. I parked down the street, my heart pounding as I walked up the driveway. Her car was gone, probably out spreading more poison about me to her friends. I let myself into the backyard, moving quietly, feeling like a criminal in my own family. The trash bins were lined up against the fence, waiting for collection. I hesitated, glancing around to make sure no one was watching, then lifted the lid on the recycling bin. Nothing but bottles and old magazines. I moved to the next bin, the one for regular trash. The smell hit me first. Coffee grounds, spoiled fruit, the sharp tang of cleaning chemicals. I gagged, but forced myself to keep looking. At first, all I found were crumpled receipts, empty food containers, and a few torn envelopes. I was about to give up when I spotted a flash of white at the bottom of the bin, a piece of paper, folded and stained, but with the same lab letterhead as the report my mother-in-law had given me. My hands shook as I fished it out, wiping away coffee grounds and something sticky. I unfolded the paper, my heart pounding so loudly I could barely hear anything else. It was another paternity report, this one with my husband's name. My name and Jamie's name, all typed neatly at the top. I scanned the page, searching for the result. Probability of paternity, 99.9%. I stared at the number, my breath catching in my throat. Relief and rage crashed over me in equal measure. This was the real report. My mother-in-law had lied. She'd forged the papers she gave to Mark, hoping to break us apart. She'd gone so far as to throw away the real report, never imagining I'd find it. I took photos of the report with my phone, making sure to capture every detail. Then I put the paper in my purse, my hands still shaking. I wanted to scream, to march straight to her house and confront her. But I knew I had to be smart. I needed Mark to see the truth for himself. That evening, Mark came home, his face drawn and tired. He barely looked at me as he set his keys on the counter. I waited until Jamie was asleep before I pulled out the report. "Mark, I need you to see something," I said quietly. He looked up, suspicion flickering in his eyes. "What is it?" I handed him the paper, watching as he read. His eyes widened, his hands trembling as he reached the final line. 99%? He whispered. I nodded, tears streaming down my face. "This is the real report. Your mother gave you a fake one. She wanted to break us up, Mark. She's hated me from the start, and she finally found a way to hurt us." He stared at the paper, then at me, his face crumpling. "I'm so sorry," he choked out. "I should have believed you. I should have known." I wrapped my arms around him, holding him as he cried. All the anger, the fear, the doubt melted away, replaced by relief and exhaustion. We sat together in the quiet, the truth finally between us. But I knew it wasn't over. My mother-in-law had gone too far this time. She'd tried to destroy my family, and I couldn't let her get away with it. I owed it to myself, to Mark, and most of all to Jamie. The next morning, Mark and I sat down together and talked for hours. We went over everything, every lie, every manipulation, every cruel word. For the first time, Mark saw his mother for who she really was. He promised me he would stand by my side no matter what. We decided to confront her together. I printed out both reports, the fake one she'd given Mark, and the real one I'd found in her trash. We drove to her house, our hands clasped tightly together. When she opened the door and saw us standing there, her face twisted into a sneer. "Come to beg for forgiveness?" she spat. Mark held up the reports, his voice steady. "No, Mom. We came to show you what you really are, a liar." She tried to slam the door, but Mark wedged his foot in the frame. For a moment, none of us spoke. The silence was heavy, thick with years of unspoken resentment. I could see the calculation in her eyes, the way she was already searching for a new lie, a new way to twist the truth. But this time we had proof. Mark stepped forward, holding out the two reports. "You gave me this," he said, shaking the forged paper. "You told me my own son wasn't mine. You watched me pack my bags. You watched my marriage fall apart. And all along you knew the truth." She looked at the papers, her lips pressed into a thin, angry line. "I did what I had to do. I was protecting you." "Protecting me?" Mark's voice cracked. "From what? From my own family? From the woman I love? You lied, Mom. You lied to me, to her, to Jamie. You tried to destroy us." She glared at me, her voice sharp as broken glass. "You never belonged in this family. I saw the way you looked at other men. The way you—" I cut her off, my voice steady. "You saw what you wanted to see. You never gave me a chance. You never gave your own grandson a chance." Mark's hands were shaking, but he didn't back down. "I'm done, Mom. I'm done letting you control my life. I'm done letting you hurt the people I love." For a moment, she looked almost small, her shoulders hunched, her eyes darting between us. I wondered if she'd ever felt love for anyone but herself. I wondered if she even knew how. She tried one last time. "You're making a mistake, Mark. She's turned you against your own mother." He shook his head. "No, Mom, you did that all by yourself." We left her standing in the doorway, clutching her lies. As we walked to the car, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. A weight I hadn't even realized I'd been carrying. Mark squeezed my hand, his eyes shining with tears. "I'm so sorry," he whispered. "For everything." I hugged him tightly. "We're okay. We're going to be okay." That night we sat together on the couch. Jamie asleep in his room, the house finally quiet. Mark apologized again and again, but I could see the relief in his eyes, the way he looked at Jamie with new certainty, new love. We promised each other that we would never let anyone come between us again. Not lies, not fear, not even family. In the days that followed, the story spread through the family. Some believed us, some didn't, but for the first time I didn't care. I had my husband, my son, and the truth. That was enough. Mark cut off contact with his mother for a while. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary. We focused on healing, on rebuilding the trust that had been shaken but not broken. We took Jamie to the park, to the zoo, to the movies. Simple things that felt like miracles after so much pain. One evening, as I tucked Jamie into bed, he looked up at me with wide, trusting eyes. "Mommy, are you happy now?" I smiled, brushing his hair from his forehead. "Yes, sweetheart. I'm happy. We're all together. That's all that matters." He nodded, satisfied, and drifted off to sleep. Later, as I sat beside Mark on the porch, watching the stars blink into existence, I realized how close I'd come to losing everything. All because of one person's hatred, one person's need for control. But in the end, the truth had set us free. If you're listening to this, if you've ever doubted yourself because of someone else's lies, I want you to know you are stronger than you think. The truth will find its way, even if you have to dig through the trash to find it. And sometimes, the family you build is stronger than the one you're born into.